Hello and welcome to this review. I'm going to talk about the new Pulsar Axion XQ35. This device was first shown to public at EVA 2020. You can also check our EVA reports when we saw this device for the first time. And it's an upgrade, it's a second generation. Basically, this is the reason for the number 2 in its name. So Pulsar Axion 2 XQ35. It's a successor of an XQ38 device. Basically almost identical device. The differences are that now this one features a much better lens. It's a 35mm f1 lens. It features a different display, and also the hardware and software was updated, so now the battery lasts much longer. And what's also new is that the sensor is a little bit more sensitive than before. That means it has a better NATD. Now it's 40 millikelvins. The sensor is made by Lindred from France, and basically Pulsar just refreshed the previous Pulsar Axion XQ, the first generation of series. So they left everything what was really good, and they updated a couple of things to make the device even better. What they also changed is that the price is now much lower, much more competitive, even though I believe that even at the previous price level, so the XQ38 was 2,000 euros, this one, XQ35, is 1,690 euros, so approximately 300 euros less. I think it would be competitive even at a 2,000 euros price point. And that's really interesting with Pulsar. So they come out with new devices each year, and every their new device is even cheaper, even more affordable. They are made in Lithuania, so they are made in EU. This is something what is also very unique, because in this market majority of all the devices are made in China. So it's a big plus for Pulsar, not to mention other stuff. So the device is roughly 15 centimeters long, 8 centimeters high, and it weighs 300 grams. There is also additional version with a bulb on this side, which offers laser range finding. So in this form factor, the Axion 2, there are 4 devices. So this one, XQ35, this one is the most affordable one. Then is the XQ35 LRF, so with a laser rangefinder. You can check that review also on our channel. It's about 2,000 euros. And then there are XG devices, which have a bigger sensor inside. Again, XG35 and XG35 laser range-finding model. The housing is made out of magnesium. The water tightness is IPX7, so that means that you are able to leave the device in 1 meter, in the depth of 1 meter for 30 minutes, and it will still work. And all in all, I would say it has the best build quality and fit and finish I have seen in this class. Honestly speaking, I think that the Axions are a benchmark in terms of build quality for all thermal devices for the whole market, even if you look at devices which are much more expensive. The startup time is approximately 4.5 seconds, a little bit less than 5 seconds. You can check our real startup time videos. So we don't take what manufacturers write into their specification for granted. So we test all the devices, and we test them in terms of startup time, and we test them in terms of real battery life. So the real battery life of this device is almost 11 hours. It uses APS-5 batteries, and these batteries can be used also in other Pulsar devices, and they are really, you are able to change them really quickly, like in a matter of seconds. That's a big plus, and the Pulsar was the first producer who solved the problem of the batteries, because usually with the integrated batteries, those devices have problems that as soon as the battery runs out, you have to connect them to a power bank or stop using them and put them in a socket to charge them. So with this interchangeable batteries, and they're really affordable. I think that the APS-5 is around 70-80 euros. You're able to have them 2 or 3 of them, and if one works for 10 hours, you're really not going to worry about battery life. So if I go to the sensor, itself. Sensor is behind a 35mm germanium lens out of germanium glass with a fast aperture of 1. So the sensor is made by Lindred in France. It's 384 by 288, 17 micron pitch, so still quite a big pitch, but that means also that every pixel is usually more sensitive than smaller pixel size. So 40 millikelvins of NATD, noise equivalent temperature difference. That means if you wish to see two different dots when you're observing an image, they need to have a temperature difference of only 40 millikelvins, and the device will distinguish between those two dots. So lower NATD, better image quality. Usually it's like this. Even though, honestly speaking, there is a lot of manipulation with NATD. So we see sometimes devices which claim that they have NATD of 35 or less, but the image quality is not on the same level like with this Pulsar. So it's not all in the NATD which is written. You have to look at all the videos and try them for yourself to see the image quality, how it actually is in reality. In this regard, I would say that Pulsar still excels. So usually, even if their NATD ratings and everything else on paper doesn't look as graded from some competitors, usually when you look through them, they really offer great image quality. The image quality of this 35mm model is much better than the previous one, and even the previous one was really good, the XQ35. So 3 calibration modes, normally automatic, semi-automatic and manual, 8 color palettes, and all the settings like with usual Pulsar devices. So a short press for the basic menu, that means contrast and brightness, long press for all additional settings, also for the color modes. The screen on the other side is the only thing where I think that Pulsar went backwards compared to the previous series. So now the resolution is 640 by 400 pixels, so it has a much smaller display than before, but still when you look at it, it's not something that would really hamper the whole device performance. I was very skeptical when I was reading this, but now when I'm using it, it's like it's good enough. And when you see the price point, 1,690 euros, it's more than adequate. So the optical quality for this price is still unbelievable. And I believe that because the sensor is so good and because the software is so good and so on, the display doesn't, show the lack of performance. With some worse sensor, it would probably show up that the display is too small. You do see individual pixels a little bit more than you see on the bigger screens, like on the XG series. But still, like I said, I personally think that for 1,690 euros, it's not a big minus. When you try it, you'll see it. Optical performance in general, the magnification range goes from 2 to 8. So 2 is a base model, then you are able to go all the way to 8 times magnification with a digital zoom. Focusing is done with a rotation of this basically front objective lens. Really easy, it's really nice. Range of detection is 1,300 meters and the field of view is 186 meters. Close focus, they are not giving us the data, but I would say at around 3 to 5 meters it goes really close, so it's no problem. In terms of multimedia, normally this device has everything what you could wish for. So a Wi-Fi connectivity with a Stream Vision app with a second generation, which is even better than the first one. I still think that they have an edge compared to others at the moment. So you are able to see the image on the phone from your device. You are also able to go through all the settings and set everything on a cell phone with this device. What else? You can take photos and videos, and there is 16 gigabytes of internal memory. And videos and photos is really interesting that you get a little bit better resolution or the same resolution at the screen. So honestly speaking, looking at your videos will not be the same as looking through the device. Through the device you will still see everything a little bit better, and that's something you need to keep in mind when you're looking at all the YouTube videos and similar. Okay, I think I can go to the last part of this review, and this one is the part which everybody usually is most interested in, and that is sweet and sour part plus competition. So you can see everything what is in the box. So the carrying pouch, the charging cable, the cleaning cloth, the manual in 6 different languages, normally for the charging, battery, 2 battery covers, one for the back if you buy additional battery, one from the front, and a special accessory so that you're able to put this device on a tripod, because it has a tripod adapter thread here, not underneath it. Okay, so what's really positive and what's really could have been done better? So build quality, form factor, power indicator, that's all really positive. The battery solution is still the best on the market, honestly speaking. The ease of change and how quickly you're able to change the battery, and also the battery life, 11 hours in our real battery life tests, not something what it's written in specification. It's just amazing. Startup time 4.5 seconds, again best in class. When we compare to other competitors, no one is even close, not to mention the magnesium housing, the waterproofing, and so on. I also think that the front lens, 35mm f1 lens in combination with this sensor, gives really great optical performance. Stream Vision 2, a big upgrade compared to the Stream Vision 1, even though I like the Stream Vision 1 as well. Now the connection is even more stable and everything works even better. Okay, so what could have been done better? I forgot one more really positive thing, the price. It basically kills all the competition and everybody with this price. So here, Pulsar is always doing, from each generation to generation, they produce better devices and they go down with the price. So it's really hard for all their competitors. 1,690 euros, it's almost too cheap for this device, honestly speaking, if you look at the quality and everything. Okay, so what is sour? What could have been done better? Screen size. So they could use the same screen as in XG models. Normally then the device wouldn't be so affordable. I also think that, let's say Axion 3 or Axion 2 Pro or something like that could have an NATD of 25 millikelvins. Then the image quality would increase even further. I also believe that they could produce this device with an even bigger lens. I don't know how it would look, but let's say a 50mm lens would be even more impressive than 35. Normally it wouldn't be so small then. Apart from that, I don't have any real comments about the sour part. This device for this price point is just great. Maybe a small one, a completely separated button dedicated for taking videos. This could also improve the device a little bit, but honestly speaking, not much. With an eyepiece, you're able to use it with glasses already. This is something what some other devices are struggling with. Not the Axion 2, you're able to use them with glasses, but it was always with all Axions XQ that all of us who are wearing glasses didn't have problems. Okay, so a lot of positive, a lot of sweet, and not really much of sour. What about competitors? Honestly speaking, the majority of competitors are probably really scared of this device, because there are not many other devices on the market that could be, I would say, would have an adequate answer to this one. So if we go to Infrared, they have E3 Plus, I think, which is made out of plastic and rubber. It doesn't offer interchangeable battery. And ergonomically, I also think that this one is much nicer, not to speak about the magnesium housings and so on. So not really there, even though optically, I would say in terms of image quality, they are really close. Not to mention that this device is made in EU and Infrared are not. The other device is Cabin, CBL25. Again, smaller lens, 25 against 35. It does have a little bit, I would say, nicer form factor. It does have an interchangeable battery, but still not made out of magnesium, not to the same level of quality. It doesn't have service in Europe. Then you have Part TA32, Very similar concept in this, interchangeable battery, nice housing, really well made, not out of magnesium I think, it's made out of plastic. Very similar to this, but again this one has a better optical performance. And again made in Europe, European servers and so on. Then we have HIC Micro, which does have a competitor on the horizon at least. And this is the Falcon with a 25mm objective lens with an f0.9 aperture. I do have to test the Falcon against this to be able to say if it will compete or not, but it looks promising. So finally you have a little more I would say close competitiveness between products, because the Falcon could be a viable choice. I have to test it, honestly speaking. I'm now talking only about things I have seen in press releases and so on. Then HIC Micro also has the Gryphon, but I think the Gryphon is way too big, made out of plastic. It's not really in this league, and it's also more expensive, even though I wouldn't go with it. Then we have the Guide TD430, a cheaper device, bigger, made out of plastic, also interchangeable battery, better display, smaller lens. No, it actually has, I think, the same lens. So maybe it would be worth thinking about it, especially if there is a long waiting line on the XQ35s. It depends. At the moment, I think they are readily available, but we don't know what will happen in 1 month. So maybe because it's cheaper, it's not also directly in this class, it's below this class, but it's also more affordable because of this. And then, not to forget any competitors, Thermtech Cyclos 335. Again, I would say it's a previous generation device. If we look through the design, made out of plastic and rubber, without interchangeable battery, and very similar in form factor than, let's say, the old FLIR devices. I wouldn't really put it into direct fight with this Pulsar Axions, even though price-wise they are in the same class. So I would say at the moment the only real competitor, which we need to see how it will compete against this, is the Falcon. All others are, I would say, it's their turn to do something, with the exception maybe of the Guide TD series, which is cheaper and offers some interesting features. So I would say similar features, even though the level of quality, the build quality is not the same. It's not the same, but again, much cheaper device. Okay, thank you for watching. If you have any additional questions, please use the comments below and send us some questions. See you in the next review.